Let's grow together. Well, if you follow the news, you know that the world seems to be plagued by drug and alcohol abuse, overeating and obesity, compulsive gambling, theft, and other behaviors that impose tremendous costs on society. And what do all of these social ills have in common? They are all attempts to achieve happiness and joy. People will try anything, go anywhere, and associate with anyone if they think they will find happiness. And their search is almost always external. A few years ago, the bestseller list was topped with a book titled, "Dr. Rubin, Please Make Me Happy." I read an interview with John Lennon once, and he said, "When I was 5 years old, my mom told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down, happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment. I told them they didn't understand life." I have a friend who for quite a few years ran a very large costume shop in Fort Lauderdale. And although they sold and rented costumes year-round, their busiest season was Halloween. So during the months of September and October, my friend Harold would add about 60 additional employees to handle the rush. And one year, he hired a fellow who was probably in his 50s, but he was rather boyish and sort of a goofy kind of guy. He was always smiling, and you could hear his laugh all over that very large store. And everyone called him Happy. Well, I struck up a conversation with him one afternoon, and I asked him what his real name was, and he replied, Happy. "Really?" I said. "Yep, really." "Is that your first name?" "Yes." "Well, then what's your middle name?" And he replied, Happy. "Well," I said, "what's your last name?" And he said, Happy. Well, now by now I was getting tired of having my leg pulled, so I asked to see his driver's license. And right there, under his photo, was his name, Happy, Happy, Happy. He explained that he had been abused as a child, and as an adult, he had suffered through 2 miserable marriages. So one day, he decided to go to court to have his name changed to Happy. And the judge asked why he wanted that name, and he replied, "I want to be happy." So the judge deliberated for a moment and said, "I'm going to grant your wish. I'm going to make you happy." Now, that may sound crazy to you, and I must confess it seemed a little bit odd to me, but it seemed to work for Happy. My friend Harold told me that even with the crankiest, most difficult customers, Happy continued to smile and laugh. Needless to say, he sold and rented way more costumes than the other workers. And after Halloween, he was asked to stay on as a permanent employee. The fact is that the happiest people have lives that are just as challenging as people who are miserable, anxious, angry, and depressed. The happiest people simply view their responsibilities and experiences in a more positive way than everyone else. The truth is that life is wonderful. Beauty is everywhere. There are people, things, and situations all around us that can give us pleasure. But true joy and happiness are as strange to the average person as the idea of being a billionaire. Unthinkable, inconceivable. Oh, sure, everyone has happy moments, even days and weeks where everything is going so well. But those good times may get interrupted by the ups and downs of everyday life, and it's the unrealistic and often unconscious wish for these exciting times to never end, or the desire to live lives like those fake people on TV. It's that kind of yearning that makes life's challenges, losses, misfortunes, and heartbreaks so devastating. And so we go chasing after those people, places, and things, which we think will make us happy. The truth? Life can be difficult. Challenges can seem overwhelming. We may encounter threats to our health, be targeted for theft or fraud, be threatened with death, have harsh demands placed on us at work, at home, when traveling, everywhere. And as we get older, we may begin to worry that our health may fail. We may experience pain, mental decline, and inability to even take care of ourselves. And all of this creates stress on the mind and the body. So, if we spend our days thinking about our problems, it hardly ever helps to be reminded that just a few decades ago, most people had it a lot worse in terms of lifestyle. It usually doesn't make a miserable person feel better to know that medicine is better today, that lifespans are longer, cars are more reliable, gasoline is a lot more expensive elsewhere, that things could be worse. No, the fact that living in developed countries today is relatively safe, that opportunities for financial security are more plentiful, that food doesn't have to be hunted anymore, that the love of your life could be just a few mouse clicks away. No, none of those thoughts really help us, because the worst of life is pumped into our homes 24 hours a day on CNN. We're reminded that from every direction about what we don't have and how we're not good enough or not smart enough. Our jobs aren't secure because of intense competition. And it's just as much of a dog-eat-dog world now as it ever was. Well, in light of that, what's the deal with all those happy people? Are they blind to reality? Are they crazy? Are they all stoned? No, they are brilliant. Science has studied the most depressed people, the angriest people, the most dishonest people, and they've studied the happiest people. And 95% of the time, it's not finances, location, physical health, or intelligence that makes them happy. What it is focus. Now let's face it, there's plenty to be depressed and angry about in this world, but the happiest people don't zero in on it. They don't dwell on it. They simply let it go. And to be able to do that so well and so naturally that they rarely get into a bad mood about anything is absolutely brilliant. They don't compare themselves to everyone else. They don't continue to think about whatever isn't perfect. They just do their best with the hand they are dealt. And that is a tremendously valuable and somewhat rare skill. They can do this because their happiness comes from the core of who they are. In other words, it's not fake. And as we'll see shortly, when our happiness comes from our core, we go beyond happiness to the experience of joy. When you speak to people who are happy in spite of conditions that would send most of us into the pits of despair, they will tell you something along the lines of, "Oh, that's just the way it is. You've got to do the best you can with what you've got." And of course, many people are good at putting on a happy face in public, but a lot of them are secretly obsessed with what isn't good enough and what isn't perfect in their lives and in the world around them. Most people, no matter what they do have, feel bad about what they don't have because they dwell on it. They dwell on it. Dwell as in dwelling place, the place where you live. In other words, they live on it, and their negativity becomes the foundation of their lives. But pop culture is constantly trying to tell us that we're not good enough, and it's trying to sell us on the idea of a dream life. And this dream life can be obtained, we are told, by using the right grooming products, wearing the right fashions, going on the right diet, driving the right car, going to the right places, and hanging out with the right people. So, when mistakes are made, when we gain a few pounds, when delays or denials happen, when someone disagrees with us, because we want the dream life, but we don't have it, we tend to get angry and frustrated. And then we say, life isn't fair. Well, fair is purely subjective. It's like loud. What's too loud for you may not be loud enough for someone else. And any unrealistic hope that life will fulfill your definition of fair prevents you from feeling lasting joy, from being truly happy, from experiencing the deepest pleasure from the good things in your life. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can be many times happier than you are now, even if nothing changes in your life. Happiness and joy are wonderful feelings to experience, but happiness and joy are very different. Happiness may be externally triggered by other people, places, things, events, but joy is more consistent. Joy is cultivated internally. Joy is more beneficial because it's less temporary than happiness, and it's not tied to external circumstances. Joy comes when you make peace with who you are, why you are, and how you are. Happiness tends to be a reaction to circumstances, whereas joy is a conscious choice. Happiness can only be experienced during good times. Joy can be our reality regardless of what's going on in our lives. The famous author of mystery fiction, Agatha Christie, once wrote, "I like living. I have sometimes been wildly, despairingly, acutely miserable, racked with sorrow. But through it all, I still know quite certainly that just to be alive is a grand thing." Happiness is like the rising bubbles in champagne, delightful, but fragile. On the other hand, joy is built out of inner strength. It is tough and resilient. Happiness is always passing through. It can claim your full attention for the 10 seconds it takes to swallow a sip of incredible coffee. Or it can stream through you for weeks on end. But happiness cannot hold the same space as sadness or anger or any negative emotion for very long. And that's why it's temporary. So it's been said that happiness is a visitor, whereas joy is a resident. You may be familiar with Thornton Wilder's classic drama, Our Town. In the play, Emily Webb dies in childbirth, and we see the lonely grief of her young husband, George, left with their 4-year-old son. And Emily does not wish to rest in peace. She wants to experience once again the joys of life. So she is granted the privilege of returning to Earth and reliving her 12th birthday. And at first, it's exciting to be young again, but the excitement wears off quickly. The day holds no joy now that Emily knows what is in store for the future. It's unbearably painful to realize how unaware she had been of the meaning and the wonder of life while she was alive. And before returning to her final resting place, Emily laments, "Do human beings ever realize life while they live it, every minute?" Do you realize life while you're living it? Our realization of what is most important in life, our joy of living, goes hand in hand with gratitude for our blessings. An author who's done an awful lot of work around the concept of gratitude, Sarah von Bronick, wrote, "When we choose not to focus on what is missing from our lives, but are grateful for the abundance that's present, love, health, family, friends, work, the joys of nature, the personal pursuits that bring us happiness, the wasteland of illusion falls away and we experience heaven on earth." I was raised in a religious philosophy which taught that heaven was the reward you'd receive after a lifetime of misery and sorrow here on earth. But heaven is either here and now, or it is nowhere. Now, if you're like most people, you have no problem working hard and making sacrifices to reach your goals. We're told stories about people who defied the odds by working hard, giving things up, and making tough choices. And you realize that there are times when you need to suck it up and grind it out when the going gets tough. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes getting what we want out of life requires a lot of really hard work and sacrifices. The problem is in thinking that when we reach our goal, then we can be happy. Then we can be joyful. It's a game of joy someday. You've got to put in the time if you want to make it happen. The spoils go to those who tough it out. Good things come to those who wait. That's the narrative we're told. But the truth is that is nonsense. There is another path, a path that rarely gets heralded on the evening news. It's the path of joy now, not joy someday. It's an experience that does not involve a pot of gold after the next diploma, the next promotion, the next lottery. It's about creating something because it's dying to be born, not because it's another task on your to-do list. A few weeks ago, I referenced in one of these talks people who attempted the conquest of Mount Everest. And you probably know about Sir Edmund Hillary, who was the first person to climb to the top of Mount Everest. Of course, he wasn't the first person to try to get to the top. A man named George Mallory was a famed mountain climber who in the early 1920s made several attempts to scale the mountain, eventually dying in his third attempt in 1924. His body was found in 1999, very well preserved by the snow and ice, 27,000 feet up the mountain, just 2,000 feet from the peak. His body was face down in a rocky slope, head toward the summit. His toes were dug into the mountain. His arms were extended high above his head, his fingers grasping the rock, refusing to let go, even as he drew his last breath. A short length of broken rope was looped around his waist. And just before that third attempt at scaling the mountain, George Mallory said this about why he wanted to climb it. The first question which you will ask, and which I must try to answer, is this: what is the use of climbing Mount Everest? And my answer must at once be, it is no use. There's not the slightest prospect of any gain whatsoever. Oh, we may learn a little about the behavior of the human body at high altitudes, and possibly medical men may turn our observation to some account for the purposes of aviation. But otherwise, nothing will come of it. We shall not bring back a single bit of gold or silver, nor a gem, nor any coal or iron. We shall not find a single foot of earth that can be planted with crops to raise food. It's no use. So if you cannot understand that there is something in us which responds to the challenge of this mountain and goes out to meet it, that the struggle is the struggle of life itself, upward and forever upward, then you won't see why we go. What we get from this adventure is just sheer joy. And joy is, after all, the point of life. We do not live to eat and make money. We eat and make money to be able to enjoy life. That is what life means and what life is for. Reaching the top was the goal, but the joy was found in the adventure. There are no obligations you must fulfill before experiencing incredible joy in your work and in your life. You don't need to become something first. You don't need the house first or the award or the right number on your bathroom scale. The only thing you need is to say yes to yourself. No strings. Not after I do X, Y, or Z. Right now. Joy is a decision, not an event. Ralph Marston put it this way: don't wait for life to be perfect or fret and complain that it is not. Live it as it comes, doing all you can, thankful for each day, enthusiastic about making it count. Joy does not suddenly appear when you get what you want. Joy is a state of being that empowers you to create what you choose. Rather than harboring resentment about what you lack, be resourceful with all you have. Feel your miraculous ability to make a difference and put it to work. If all your dreams had already come true, you'd have nothing to look forward to. If everything was perfect, you'd have no way to make a positive difference. Expect great things, but don't let joy be held hostage by your expectations. Live your joy now, with the way things are, as imperfect as they may seem to be. Despite its flaws, this time, this place is your opportunity to live with richness and fulfillment. Stop wishing for it to have been different and start living at your highest and best right now. So you say, how do I go about it? Here are a few tips. Here's something I call top 10 ways to experience joy. We begin with number 10. Do what brings you joy. And that will be different for everyone. What brings you joy may not do a thing for me, and vice versa. My grandfather said, we all like different things, and that's good, because otherwise everyone would be chasing your grandma. Number 9, count your blessings. Take inventory. Do a gratitude exercise. As Marianne Williamson puts it, joy is what happens when we allow ourselves to recognize how good things really are. Number 8, give up gloom, despair, and negativity. My father used to say, blessed is he who expects the worst, for he shall not be disappointed. Well, Ernest Holmes tells us, we do not take what we wish, but we do attract to ourselves that which is like our own thoughts. So affirm, blessed are those who expect the best, for they shall receive it. And that's number 7, affirm joy. And when we affirm anything positive, we experience the power of the mind over the body. Number 6, receive joy. How do you receive joy? By accepting it. Ernest Holmes again. It is impossible to experience the tangible results of one's mental concepts if one refuses to receive them. The gift of life is made, but it must be accepted. Number 5, think of the Beatles. Let it be. The scriptures tell us, let not your heart be troubled. Let your heart be glad. And as you believe, so is it done unto you. Holmes again. What a marvelous thought to bear in mind, that it is done unto us. We need not coerce, we do not create the power, but we must let this great power operate through us. Number 4, be childlike. We talked about this last week. And you may remember the quote that you hear around Christmas time, for unto you a child is born, unto you a son is given, and his name shall be called Wonderful. Charles Dickens rewrote that for his own purposes, and he said, for unto you a child is born, and his name shall be called Wonderful. It's about the sense of wonder. That's where we can find joy. Elaine Hibbard says, something great and wonderful is happening in my life today. As I look at the beauty-filled world in which I live, I give thanks for the wonder-working power upholding and sustaining me in all that I do and say. Number 3, bless life. Bless, don't curse life. Now you may say, well, I don't curse life. But every time we say that life is against us, we are cursing life and cursing ourselves in relationship to it. The principle of love always overcomes hate, so let us bless life. Number 2, give joy. Khalil Gibran wrote, you give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. So give of yourself, give of your time, give of your talent, give of your consciousness, and most of all, give of your joy. Mark Twain said that the best way to cheer yourself up is to try to cheer somebody else up. A joy that is shared is a joy made double. Number 1, and most important, expect joy. In the glossary of our textbook, The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes defined joy as follows. Joy is the emotion excited by the expectancy of good. The expectancy of good. Expect joy now. In legal circles, there's a concept that justice delayed is justice denied. Well, joy delayed is joy betrayed, and joy postponed is joy tombstoned. Are you killing time, waiting for joy to happen someday? Killing time is not a simple crime, it's murder. Joy is now because God is now. Judge Thomas Troward told us that the 7 main aspects of God are life, love, light, power, peace, beauty, and joy. And Ernest Holmes again, the mystics have taught us that there is but one ultimate reality, and that this ultimate reality is here and now. Joy now. I have a friend who was an ancient history major, and he once told me that in pre-Pharaoh Egypt, their concept of time was very simple. There was no Monday or Tuesday, there was no next week, there was no last month. There were only 2 times, now and not now. Joy is a now thing. If it's not now, it's not joy. And so I close with the words of William Arthur Ward, with a little piece that he wrote called Do It Now. This was way before Nike came out with Just Do It. Your spirit is divine. Free it now. Your freedom is real. Declare it now. Your power is within. Harness it now. Your good is here. Accept it now. Your prosperity is. Receive it now. Your abundance is overflowing. Share it now. Your love is great. Give it now. Your song is beautiful. Sing it now. And your joy is here. Embrace it now. And so it is. Right now, we're going to invite you to do something that most of us don't do nearly often enough. And that is to slow down, to become still, to go within. So I invite you to get very comfortable in your seat. Just relax. Take a deep breath or two. Close your eyes, shut out any distractions, and let's spend these next few moments knowing the truth together. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, wrote, "Today, I learn to enter more fully into my divine companionship. I speak my word of good, knowing that it will not return to me void, because it bears the peace and joy and perfection that is God. I know that God is all there is. So right now, I relax into the one power, the one presence, the one essence that moves in, through, around, and as me, as I speak these words of truth for all the manifestations of spirit here today. I know that I am always safe, awake, and aware, and that I'm always provided for. Knowing this, I flow with life as it unfolds, letting go of any fear, doubt, or troubled thought. I allow my positive, powerful thoughts to guide me to the answer to any challenge, knowing that my ideas add to the collective consciousness of others on the same path. A path that allows all people to recognize the connection and responsibility we have to care for ourselves and each other. One voice, one mind, working together to benefit ourselves as well as the generations to come. Because I recognize the omnipotence and omnipresence of the One, I have faith in the highest and best good. This is the faith that can move mountains. This is the faith that allows me to move boldly into each new day, into each new adventure. This is the faith that allows me to know that a good outcome is always inherent in every situation. This is the knowing that divine right order always takes place when my thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and actions are in integrity. I express gratitude for the law of mind, which is always in action, fulfilling my heart's desires. I am thankful for the presence of spirit, which allows me to know that all is good because all is God. So I release these words, knowing that they cannot return to me empty, but must accomplish that for which they are spoken. I let go, and I let God, and so it is.